Hello, 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 hello. It's such a pleasure to have you joining me tonight or today, wherever you are in the world. This was supposed to be happening yesterday at 12 noon, but as some of you may know, I am here in Goa, India, and this is India. Nothing, you cannot plan for anything. There's always going to be something to throw you off. So I had no internet in my house yesterday, but here I am today, and I am happy and willing to join you and take you through what I think it's an amazing session. And I hope you will get something out of it today. Okay. So, in the meantime, as we wait for people to join, I would love to hear from you. You can drop this in the chat if you could, but just write to me. If someone paid you to talk about one topic for an hour, what would it be? For some of you who are visual, let me just put this up on the screen for you. So again, I'm asking if you would drop in the chat, if someone paid you to talk about one topic for an hour, what would it be? So drop that in the chat. Let's take a few minutes and see some of the comments we would have. Note we are streaming live across many platforms this evening. So you can be on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. You can just drop it in the comments and I will still see it. So wherever you are looking at me today, feel free to just use the comments to interact with me throughout this session today. Thank you. So if someone paid you to talk about one topic per hour, what would it be? I guess if I had to answer that question, it would be just what I'm going to talk to you about today, how to monetize you. All right. Just give me 1 second. Thank you. All right. So guys, whenever you feel free, you can drop it in the comments. But let's get this show on the road because we have so much to cover. And I just want to make sure you get everything you came here for today. And again, I'm so happy to see that so many of you joined. I can see the numbers on different platforms. So really glad that you took some time out. And if you did not manage to join today, that's okay. If you hadn't joined live, you can still watch this as the recording. So maybe you're watching it as a recording today, and that's also okay. So happy to have you. And I'm just excited for us to begin. So before we dive in, I really want to start with a truth that might sting a bit. And I know when you hear this question, you're going to be like, Risa, why did you have to remind me of this? Why do you have to come back here and tell us about all the things we could be doing and all the things we promised ourselves? But the sad part is that most of us are working incredibly hard, but we are still not in control of our income. And it's not because we're lazy, but it's because we've been taught to wait. We've been taught to wait for the next job. We've been taught to wait for a client, maybe. And sometimes we've been taught to wait for even the next opportunity that someone else would give us. But I'm here to ask you a serious question. What if the real opportunity was already inside of you, waiting for you to finally give it permission? I called this session, What's Really Costing You Control of Your Income and How to Fix It Before 2026. Because the truth is, time is moving faster than we think. Many of us make silent promises to ourselves at the start of every year. But this year we said by the end of 2025, we'd finally feel secure, free, and financially stable. But here's a question I want to pose right from the start. Are you moving closer to that version of yourself? Or are you still waiting for someone else to decide when your next chapter begins? Just take a moment and think of that. For those of you who are new to me, I'm Risa Gooding, and I am not a guru. I am not here to even sell you any type of hype, shortcuts, or overnight success stories. I'm a woman who has rebuilt her life multiple times across different countries, careers, and identities. I built a 7-figure marketing agency in Israel, and I got hired by a global tech giant. At that point, I thought I had finally made it. Then one day, in a single Zoom call, that chapter ended. And suddenly, I had to ask myself, who am I without that title, without the paycheck, without the certainty? That moment changed everything because it forced me to realize the only true financial security I could ever have is the one I create from my own skills, my own story, and my own belief in myself. And that's exactly what I'm here to help you uncover today. Over the next hour, we're going to talk about 5 silent ways people lose control of their income. Even smart, talented, hardworking people like you. And I want to show you one simple shift you can make in each area so you can start regaining control before another year slips by and you're still promising yourself the same things you promised in 2024 and 2025. But I want you to know, this is not theory. These are patterns I've seen with the dozens of people I've worked with. And many of them I've even lived myself. I'm also going to share a few stories, real people, real lessons. So by the end of this, you'll not only understand why you feel stuck, but how to move forward, especially with what you already know and have. So before we go deeper, I want you to take a breath, a real one, in through the nose and out through the mouth. Just remind yourself, you made it here. You're not behind. You are exactly where you need to be to start this next chapter. Let that sink in one more time. You are exactly where you need to be to start your next chapter. And this session It's not about adding more pressure. It's about giving you permission to reimagine what's possible. When you stop outsourcing your potential to the job market, the economy, or anyone else's opinion, I just want you to imagine what is possible. So let's dive in. We'll start with the first reason most professionals unknowingly lose control of their income. And this one, it might sound a bit familiar. It's the belief that the safest route is still finding another job. I know. And again, I want to say, I'm not trying to convince everyone here to become an entrepreneur. For some of us, it's okay that you want to be an employee. But I do want you to take this time to really expand and understand the possibilities that are available to you. So please take this with some level of, information at least, and not just get trapped into thinking, oh, Risa wants me to start my own company. No, I simply want you today to take this session and remember that you can bet on yourself. So let's start with this big one, the job trap. You know the one. You get laid off or you leave a role that no longer fits. And the first thing everyone tells you is just start applying. You'll find something soon. So you polish that CV and you spend hours rewording bullet points. You send out 50, 100, 200, I don't even know anymore, hundreds and hundreds of applications and crickets. Or maybe you got 1 or 2 interviews that seem promising, but just never go anywhere. How many of you have been there recently? Be honest and drop a smiley face or a wave in the chat if that's your current season. Don't be afraid. Drop something in the chat if you know this is your season. The harsh truth is, some people have been unemployed for 6 months, even a year, and even more. Not because they aren't capable, but because the market is shifting faster than the systems that support it. And still, we hold on to this belief that a job equals security. But here's what I've learned, and I really say this with love. If you've sent hundreds of applications and the door still isn't opening, that's not rejection, that's redirection. Again, it is not rejection, but it is redirection. Because what if instead of spending all that energy trying to convince someone else to pick you, you spend that same energy building something that could not be taken away? Because the truth is, a paycheck is a rented security, but your skills, your story, your experience, that is owned equity. And when you start to monetize you, not your job title, you begin to take control of your income again. So I want you to do a little reflection with me. Just think. You don't need to write anything down just yet, but just think with me for a moment. Over the last 3 months, how many hours have you spent applying for jobs? How many hours have you spent rewriting and polishing those cover letters? And how many hours are you clicking and waiting on your phone to see if you get a call back from a potential employer? Now, just imagine if even you spent a fraction of that time, say 5, 10 hours a week, and you spent it building something of your own, creating a service, packaging your expertise, sharing your story online, how different could your next 3 months look? Think about that for a moment. And again, I am not saying don't look for jobs. I am saying don't make that your only plan. Because when all your power depends on someone else's yes, you are giving away control of your income and your confidence. But when you start something of your own, even something small, you begin to rebuild self trust. And that is the real foundation of financial freedom. So here's your shift tip of the day: stop waiting for validation, start creating evidence. Again, stop waiting for validation and start creating evidence. Don't wait for the job offer to prove you're worthy. Show it by building something real. Even if it's a one-page service, a digital product, a consulting session, or just helping one person solve a problem you already know how to fix, that alone is I want you to think about, and I want you to understand that that one skill, that one experience, this is what people have asked for your help with before, even casually. This is where your next opportunity can possibly lie. It could be things like even organizing closets or writing or explaining tech, sometimes even clean cooking, or you're mentoring someone, or you simply know how to use ChatGPT better to get better storytelling. Whatever it is, that is your starting point. Because what people already come to you for is usually what the world is willing to pay you for. You just haven't packaged it yet. So understand that it really depends on your ability to really understand your own experience and what skill you have that will not allow you to lose control of your income by waiting for permission. And I want to say that is just one of the traps. The second is by not knowing where to begin once you finally understand where you want to go. So, this second reason I am going to dive into now, it's one of the things I have realized actually helps keep even the smartest people like you and me stuck. Because we've made the decision, you know you're going to start something of your own. You're motivated, maybe even excited. But then comes a question that stops 90% of people right in their tracks. But Risa, what is it exactly do I do? Sound familiar? I know. I want to tell you a story about a woman I met recently on my last visit in Israel. Let's call her Sarah. Sarah had been working in a high paying job for almost 10 years. She had a solid career, good salary, nice benefits. But deep down, she was feeling drained. It just didn't excite her anymore. So she made a brave decision to quit and start consulting on her own. She did think, I'll take my years of experience, help others, and it will all make sense. But when she started marketing her services, no one seemed interested. Her offer seemed to be too niche, too abstract, and people didn't really get what she did. And maybe even they weren't ready to pay for it. So eventually she gave that up and she took up a role at a startup. Good money, good people. But she said to me, Risa, I am bored out of my mind. And I could feel it. She wasn't lost because she lacked skills. She was lost because she was trying to intellectualize her next step instead of feeling her way into it. So I asked her a simple question: Sarah, what is it that you actually enjoy doing? Like, what would you do even if no one paid you? Wow, you should have seen how her face lit up. And she said to me, Risa, honestly, I love creating videos and experiences for people. I could spend all day on my phone editing photos that people send me from a trip or their bar mitzvah and turning it into something emotional and something that really tells their story. So I said, okay, so why are you not doing that? And we spent the next hour brainstorming. And by the end of the night, we landed on this. Sure, she could still do her bat mitzvah videos and her trip videos, but people may not always want to pay for that. But where we saw the opportunity for her, where people could actually pay her for her efforts, is that she could help emerging athletes create digital portfolios. A lot of young players in soccer, basketball, tennis, a lot of young people are coming up with the hope of becoming a professional athlete. But in today's world where the competition is so stiff, we suggested to her that maybe she could create short video reels, highlight clips, or personal stories so that scouts could discover them online. So they can have their own Instagram channels or own, TikTok channels, and a scout will probably discover them. Can you imagine just in one conversation, she went from, I don't know what to do, to I can actually build something that excites me and serves others. And that story is a perfect example of why confusion isn't a dead end. It's just a signal that you haven't experimented enough. We often believe clarity comes before action, but the truth is, clarity comes through action. Again, I want to stress that. We often believe that clarity comes before action, but again, clarity comes through action. So when you try things, when you talk to people, when you test your ideas, and you follow what lights you up, then the path will start to reveal itself. Only then. I always say this, you cannot think your way into purpose. You have to move your way into it. The reason people are staying stuck at this stage is because they're trying to build something that looks good on paper instead of something that feels right in their body. They're asking questions like, what will sell? What's trending? What's safe? But the better questions are, what have I lived through that can help someone else? What feels easy for me, but hard for others? What do I lose track of time doing? These are the questions you want to ask yourself, not just what everybody else is doing and what can I do. You really want to tap into understanding what is it that you enjoy doing, because those are the clues to your next income stream. Because your joy is always hiding next to your genius. So here's your shift tip for this point. Don't wait for clarity, create it through curiosity. Again, don't wait for clarity, create it through curiosity. I want that to sink in for a moment with you guys, because I know how easy it is to feel like everything is spinning and every time you're losing that momentum you're building. And I want to say that when you do that exercise of moving through the things that you find difficult, and you really start talking about your ideas and letting them be tested in real conversation, you will begin to notice what lights you up. Because clarity will never come in silence, it will always come in motion. So I want you to think about one thing right now that you could do today, not next week, but today, to bring one of your ideas into the real world. It could be something simple as just posting about what you love. It could be something as offering to help someone for free. It could be that you're going to write the first line of your website or just record your first voice note. Whatever it is, just do it. Because every step you take toward what feels right is one step away from confusion and fear. So now that we've uncovered why people lose momentum at the very start, let's talk about what happens once you do start. Because somewhere along the way, you lose steam. And that will bring us to our third income trap, the motivation drop. Okay, so let's talk about that third trap that quietly steals your income control. It's not fear, it's not confusion. It's that moment when you finally started. Maybe you've written the plan, posted online, told a few people about your idea, and then life happens. The laundry piles up. Someone gets sick. The bills arrive. And before you know it, 2 weeks go by, and that fire that was once blazing has turned into a flicker. Does that sound familiar to anyone here? You know what you want, but somewhere between excitement and execution, you lose energy. Don't be ashamed to say it. Drop a smiley face or babe in the chat because I know that happens to me sometimes. So don't be afraid to admit that. But I am here to tell you one truth. You're not lazy. You're not inconsistent. You're simply human. Most people don't realize that motivation is like a spark. It gets you started, but it will not be what will keep the fire burning. Motivation is emotional, momentum is mechanical, and the bridge between the two is discipline with compassion. So when you rely on motivation, your energy becomes reactive. You will only move when you feel inspired. But when you rely on momentum, small, consistent actions, you start moving even when you don't feel like it. And that's when the magic happens. Most people lose steam because they're underestimating how much emotional energy reinvention takes. You're not just building a new business or offer, you're building a new identity. You're rewriting your story from I need a job to survive to I can create value from who I am. And that, my friends, is deep inner work. So, of course, it's tiring. And that's why it's not motivation you need, it's systems and support. So, the shift here is simple but powerful. Say it with me, repeat it many times. Replace motivation with momentum. Again, let's say that one together. Replace motivation with momentum. I don't want you to focus on doing everything, but instead, I want you to focus on doing one thing daily. If you only have 10 minutes, post a tip. If you only have 1 hour, reach out to a potential client. If you're feeling low energy, reflect or journal about what's working and what's not. One tip I myself do when I have low energy and I really don't feel like working is I make a list of all the tasks that take me a lot of time or that are daunting that I really don't want to do. For example, I dislike greatly to do my finances for my accountant. So if I'm at low energy, that's not the thing I want to do. Instead, I will have another list, a task list of things that will just be like 10 minutes of my time. And on that list are things like, oh, create a social media post or edit a reel that I want to put up because it doesn't really take any brain power to do it. So this is how I split my work when I don't feel always motivated to actually do something when I need to do it. But I do make sure that every single day I am doing something towards my goals and towards the work that I want to do. It's not about intensity, it's about continuity. Again, it's not about intensity, but it is about continuity. And I say this because I really believe that small steps done daily are what will create unstoppable flow. If you want to prevent yourself from having too many consecutive unproductive days, this is what you must do. So when you build that momentum, you will start to rebuild trust in yourself. And that's one of the biggest confidence boosters there is. Because every time you keep a small promise to yourself, you send the message, I can depend on me. And once you start believing that, you stop chasing certainty from jobs or clients or anyone else, and you will become your own source of stability. This is where I really believe that people start to take back control of their income when they stop waiting to feel ready and they start acting from who they're becoming. So here's your shift tip for this one. Don't wait for motivation, but build momentum. Again, I want to highlight, you don't wait for motivation, but I want you to build momentum. Momentum compounds, but motivation will fade. So think of it this way. If you can't stay a parked car, but even a slow moving car can change direction. So right now, I want you to write down or type in the chat one small thing you can do today. Just one. One small thing you can do today. Type it in the chat to help move your idea forward. Just one. Again, maybe it's messaging one person about what you do. Maybe it's recording your first video or sketching a logo idea. Maybe it's just writing your story on LinkedIn. Whatever it is, it does not need to be big. It just needs to be real. All right. So you see, just by doing that small exercise now and being accountable to yourself, you already have momentum. You just needed to name it. So we've talked about losing motivation and how to rebuild momentum. But what happens when things actually start working and then fear sneaks in from a completely different direction? Not fear of failure, but fear of success. Let me tell you about one of my clients I worked with recently earlier this year who had a dream about opening a cafe. But what happened when her dream finally started to come true? And this one is something that almost no one talks about, but it is so common, especially for those of us starting over or stepping into something new. It's really not the fear of failure, but how will we react or what will we do if we become successful? Sometimes I myself have those dreams. Like, what will I do if I really become successful in my endeavors? Because that moment when things finally start working, instead of feeling excited, you suddenly feel anxious, overwhelmed, or you maybe even feel like running in the opposite direction. Like, why did I even start this? You know, the voice that says in your head, oh no, what if I can't handle this? What if I mess it up? What if it's just too much? Yeah, that 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 voice right there, that's fear of success. And it can stop a dream faster than fear of failing ever could. So to tell you about my client Maya, let's just call her Maya. Maya had a dream for years to open her own cafe. She loved baking. She loved the feeling of serving others and always said, one day I'll have a place of my own. When we started working together a few months ago, I asked her, like, why wait for the cafe? Why not start now with what you have? Think about what you could do today, and let's just start from there. So she began small. She started baking from home, giving to her neighbors, giving to her network, and people, of course, loved it. So her confidence grew. And then it happened. An office nearby reached out and said, "We'd love to order sandwiches from you every day." Wow. This was the kind of opportunity she had dreamed about. But do you know what she did? She froze. She said no, not because she didn't want it, but because the weight of getting what she asked for suddenly felt terrifying. She didn't yet see that she had the power to shape the opportunity to say, I can do 2 days a week, or maybe I can find a way to delegate or collaborate with someone else. Instead, she equated success with pressure. And that's what so many of us unconsciously do. Here's what's really happening underneath that fear. Success forces us to expand. It challenges our old self concept, the one that says, I'm figuring things out, or I'm still not ready. Because once success shows up, there's no hiding anymore. Now people are watching. Now the work matters. Now you have something to lose. So subconsciously, your nervous system says, mm-mm, this feels unsafe. So you start to self sabotage, not because you're weak, but because your body and your mind are protecting you from the unfamiliar. So here's the shift I want you to take away today. You don't need to fear success, you need to redefine it. Again, you don't need to fear success, you need to redefine it. And what exactly do I mean by that? Success does not have to mean that you have to work 12-hour days. It doesn't have to mean that you must have massive responsibility or burnout. It can mean you expand gradually on your terms. So in the case of Maya, what she could have possibly done is instead of saying yes to everything, she could have said yes with boundaries. That, my friends, is the sweet spot where growth becomes sustainable. When it stretches you, but it does not break you. The real work isn't about learning how to handle more. It's about learning how to receive more without guilt, without pressure, and without panic. Because sometimes we pray for opportunities, but forget to pray and prepare our energy to hold them. And that's what the inner work is for, to expand your capacity before the world expands your visibility. Again, the work here is for you to expand your capacity before you become too visible in the world. So if you've ever turned down an opportunity that you secretly wanted, I want you to know it doesn't mean you failed. It just means your nervous system was not caught up with your vision yet. And that is something you can absolutely work on. So here's another shift for this one. You don't need to take every opportunity, but you need to shape them. Again, you don't need to take every opportunity, but you do need to shape them. I want you to know that you're allowed to negotiate. You are allowed to take things in stages. You are allowed to say yes, but on my terms. And that's not playing small. That is playing smart. So I want you to think about one opportunity you said no to because it felt like too much. Something that maybe still tugs at your heart a little. Just think of that and ask yourself, what would a smaller, doable version of that look like? What is one way you could re engage with it in a way that feels safe, exciting, and aligned? That is how you build success with sovereignty, one courageous yes at a time. So, we've talked about fear of failing, fear of starting, and fear of succeeding. But there's one more block that stops people from even getting to that point. And that's believing you don't have anything valuable to offer in the first place. So let's talk about that next. All right. So this is the last lesson. And I think this is the one that is most powerful because it's the one that keeps most people from ever beginning to start anything. It's a belief that if you don't have anything special, that your skills aren't unique enough, your story isn't interesting enough, your voice, it just doesn't matter enough. And this belief, this is the silent killer of potential. Because if you don't believe what you already have is valuable, you'll keep waiting for permission, certifications, or some magic moment to make you ready. But let me tell you something. You are already enough. You're not just what you already know. When I left my job at that high tech company, it wasn't just a job I lost, it felt like I lost a piece of my identity. I had spent years building my reputation as this expert. People introduced me that way. Clients came to me for that. And I honestly wore it like a badge. I thought this was my everything. So when it ended, I remember thinking, who am I without that title? Who is ever going to take me seriously now? And that voice, that I'm not enough voice, it was loud. Friends, I just had to decide one day to realize that that title was never what made me valuable. It was the years of problem solving, teaching, leading, failing, rebuilding me. That title did not define me. I defined me. And that realization changed everything. It's what led me to start my own consultancy. It's what led me to create this shift framework that I am presenting to you today. It helped me to build a new business completely on my terms, using the exact same skills I already had, but just package it differently. See, many of us were raised in a system that rewards expertise, but not experience. We were taught to value external validation over internal wisdom. So when we step out to the traditional path, the job, the company, the structure, we suddenly doubt everything we've built, even though it's the very foundation that makes us powerful. But here's the truth. You don't need to become someone new to succeed. You just need to remember who you already are. And that's the shift for the next point. Your story is not your setback, it is your strategy. Your story is not your setback, it is your strategy. Everything you've been through, every job you've had, every challenge you've faced, every skill you've picked up, that, my friends, is data. And when you learn how to connect the dots between what you've lived and what others need, you stop being just another person and you start being a solution. So now I want you to do a quick reflection. You can write this down if you have pen and paper with you, but I do want you to ask yourself and just think about it for a moment, but ask yourself, what's the biggest challenge I've overcome in my life? Take some time to just jot down, what's the biggest challenge I've overcome in my life? Maybe it was starting over in a new country. Maybe it was raising kids on your own. Maybe it was building a career after a layoff or healing from burnout or even leaving a relationship that no longer served you. Whatever it is, that story there holds the seed of your next income stream because someone else is still going through what you've already conquered. And that's not just experience, it's actually expertise. It's earned, it's lived, and it's embodied. And that's your final shift tip for today. What do you think it could be? The final shift tip for the day is you are the asset. Say it with me. You are the asset. Just one more time, just to make sure we get it. You are the asset. That you are not lacking anything, but you really are the asset of what you are going through and what you are doing. So stop chasing the next best big thing. And I want you to start mining the gold that's already within you. Because when you finally own that truth, you stop losing control of your income, your confidence, and your direction. You will become the source, not the seeker. And now, everything we talked about today, from waiting for permission to confusion to fear to self doubt, all of it comes down to one thing. You've been conditioned to look out there for answers when everything you need has always been in here. But awareness alone isn't enough. We've got to turn this realization into movement because clarity doesn't pay the bills, action does. And that's exactly where the shift challenge comes in. So let's take a deep breath. And I just want us for a moment to understand that we've covered a lot today. And there are 5 real reasons that people really lose control of their income and how we can turn this around with just one powerful shift. So we talked about a couple things. Does anyone remember all the things we covered? Let's see. We first talked about the job trap, right? So the first one we mentioned was waiting for permission instead of building your own table. The second one was getting stuck in confusion instead of building, instead of curiosity. So instead of like thinking things through clearly or getting some type of clarity as you become curious about what you want to do, instead we get stuck in confusion. The third one was losing motivation. Where's the third one? Yes, yeah. Losing motivation instead of building momentum. The fourth one was fearing success instead of shaping it. Fearing success instead of shaping it. And the fifth one was simply believing you're not enough. Believing that you are not enough. So I want to remind you None of this was theory. These are real patterns from real people in real life. I know it was definitely some of the patterns that even I had in my life. So, right now, something inside of you might be saying, I know this is me. I'm ready for a change. But, Risa, where do I actually start? So, guys, again, I spent months creating this 5 day shift challenge because I did want it to be very actionable and to ensure that you are leaving there with not just inspiration, but implementation. You came to this talk for the inspiration. The shift challenge is actually where the implementation happens. It's where I want you to take all that you felt today and turn it into action, clarity, and more importantly, cash flow. It's a simple 5 day experience where we will meet daily for 60 minutes. And each day we will do an exercise around the shift framework. The shift framework is actually 5 letters. So it's an easy 5 days where we cover each one of those letters. Guys, this is the same one that helped me rebuild my life time and time again. It's the framework I use to build my business and my income every time I had to start over. I've created a beautiful workbook with live daily guidance, and you will have a community as well of accountability. So you're not just learning, but you're doing. The good thing is, too, that this whole shift challenge is a pay what you can experience. If you can pay $1, you pay $1. If you want to pay $5, you pay $5. If you want to pay $100, I thank you very much because it shows that you appreciate my effort. But it's really a pay of what you can experience, because I want you to leave there with no excuses and for you to end those 5 days with at least a clear, simple offer based on your existing skills and story, the confidence to talk about it and to test it, and really the first steps to earning from what you already know without waiting for anyone's permission. I don't want the end of 2026 to come and meet you and meet any of us in the same position we are in now. So I want you to imagine something for a second. What if by next year we had a small, steady income stream and it was created by you? Something that would give you choice, confidence, and peace of mind. That's what I want for you. And that's why this shift challenge will help you build this. Because your freedom isn't going to start with when you make it big. It starts the moment you take back your power to create. We are going to start this shift challenge on November the 17th. Again, it's a pay what you can experience. You decide what you wish to contribute. You will get 5 days of live training with me, the shift workbook, access to a private support group, and even a completion bonus call where I will help you to further refine your first offer. So you can join right now. The link is at the bottom of the screen running. So you can join at www.resa, my name, RESA dash Gooding, GOODING / shift, SHIFT. And if you happen to sign up before the end of this webinar, or even by the end of today, even up to tomorrow, I will still give you this exclusive offer, which is a 90-minute session with me to kind of work on mapping out your exact income opportunity. And again, this isn't for everyone. If you're tired of waiting for the next job or your client to decide your future, this is for you. If you're ready to start something of your own, but you don't know where to begin, this is for you. If you are sitting on a lifetime of experience, but you haven't yet monetized, this is for you. And more importantly, if you're feeling just stuck in fear, confusion, or self doubt, but you want to move anyway and you're ready, this is for you. Before we close, I want to ask you first to think about something and to let you know that if you've already reinvented yourself, you've probably done it more than once, because every time life knocked you down, you found a way to rise again. And this time, you're just not starting from scratch. You are starting from experience. And that, my friends, is the experience that is your gold. It is what the world needs right now. The world needs you. So if you felt something stir inside you today, that's not coincidence. That, my friends, is your next chapter knocking. Don't let the momentum end here. Join me inside the Shift Challenge at www.risa-gooding/shift, and let's turn your lived experience into your next income stream before another year passes. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to say yes to yourself. Again, I'm not here to sell you a dream. I'm simply here to help you rebuild your self respect and your freedom, one shift at a time. Because your story isn't over, it is just beginning. And I would be honored to walk this next part of the journey with you. So, a big, big, big thank you for being here with me today. And I invite you again to please go click that link and let's start your comeback. Thank you, my friend, and I wish you a wonderful rest of your day. See you soon.